That's the thing about fear. It doesn't need proof. It just needs that feeling. And once that feeling is there, the fear takes over. It starts filling in the blanks with the worst case scenario. It tells you stuff like, if I fail, my life is over. You're going to Mexico, you better be careful because you could get kidnapped by the narcos. If you go to Brazil, you better watch out because you could get robbed at gunpoint. If you swim in the ocean, you better be on the lookout because there's sharks out there. Maybe you shouldn't travel alone because you can't trust people. There are literally a million reasons to be afraid. And these aren't irrational fears, right? People have lost limbs from shark attacks. People have lost their lives to the cartel. People have lost their kidneys to traffickers in Colombia, right? Fear doesn't just come out of nowhere. It comes from real life situations, real world cautionary tales that have actually happened. And fear is very much primal, it's biological, it's wired into our DNA to be cautious, to scan around for danger, and to prepare for the worst. Because we've been taught that ignoring our fear is essentially inviting potential disaster. And in some cases, that's true. Fear has saved lives. It keeps us from walking down dark alleys at night. Fear stops us from making reckless decisions. It helps us survive the most dangerous situations. So we should absolutely be aware of our surroundings. We should make smart choices. We should acknowledge risks where they exist, which is why we need to sometimes listen to that fear and trust it. If there's even a 1% chance that something could go horribly wrong, isn't it better to be safe than sorry? But I have a question for you. When is the last time you walked up to a vending machine and you thought to yourself, I better be careful, this thing could kill me? Never, right? And yet, statistically speaking, you are more likely to be killed by a vending machine than by a shark attack. When was the last time you were afraid to walk through the woods because a tree might fall on you? Probably never, right? But guess what? You're more likely to be killed by a falling tree than by a shark attack. When was the last time you walked past a cow pasture and you thought to yourself, my life is potentially over? Sounds ridiculous. And yet, cows kill more people than sharks do. And you know what else is statistically deadlier than sharks? Choking on your food, drowning in your own swimming pool, and dogs. The numbers don't lie. Sharks only kill less than 10 people a year worldwide. Meanwhile, people die every day from choking, drowning, the sun, falling trees, vending machines tipping over, and from everyday household accidents. But we never fear those things, right? Because fear, while it may be primal, isn't always logical. It has nothing to do with actual risk, and it has everything to do with how our mind interprets a potential threat. It's not about what's most dangerous, it's about what captures our imagination. And once something gets into our head, that fear feels very, very real. I know this firsthand. I grew up in the South, petrified of sharks. I lived in Alabama, a more or less landlocked state, but I had watched Jaws one too many times. By the time I finally experienced the ocean in person at 13 or 14 years old, I was convinced that if I stepped into that water, Jaws was right there waiting for me and I was gonna die. And it was so bad that I wasn't just afraid of the ocean. I was also afraid of swimming in just swimming pools. I was afraid of taking baths because somewhere in the back of my mind, I imagined that Jaws was able to defy the laws of physics and crash through the pool drain or crash through the bathtub and pull me down into the inky depths of the ocean. Completely irrational. But that's the thing about fear. It doesn't need proof. It just needs that feeling. And once that feeling is there, the fear takes over. Now, maybe you're not afraid of sharks, but I guarantee you, you have your version of Jaws, right? Maybe you're afraid of failing. Maybe you're afraid of looking stupid. Maybe you're afraid of confrontation or being alone or losing money. When that fear kicks in, your brain does the same thing that mine did with sharks. It starts filling in the blanks with the worst case scenario. It tells you stuff like, if I fail, my life is over. Or if this person leaves me, I'm going to lose everything. If I don't control my money, I'm going to end up on the street. And then suddenly, these unrealized and potentially unjustified fears start dictating how you live in the moment. Here's the problem: most of these things that we fear never actually happen. And even when bad things do happen, usually we just handle it, right? We adapt, we figure it out, we move through it. But fear never accounts for that. Fear doesn't tell you, hey man, you're going to find a way. No, fear tells you this is going to destroy you. This is going to kill you. Your life as you know it is over. And when you believe that, you start living in defense mode. You hold on to things that are no longer relevant for you. You overthink every move. You try to control everything. But control is an illusion. Control will make you miserable. As Pema Chodron said, if you want control, you're on the wrong planet. Because on planet Earth, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is certain. And fear hates that because fear wants predictability. It wants certainty. It wants assurance that nothing is going to go wrong. But as we all know, life doesn't work that way. So what do? Well, from the spiritual perspective, the goal is not to eliminate the fear. The goal is to stop letting fear run the show, right? It's not about never being afraid. It's about recognizing when the fear is lying to you. And the best way to do that is to face it, not in your head, not by overanalyzing, but by actually doing the thing that scares the hell out of you. I call them scary yeses. So if you're afraid of cold water, do a cold plunge. If you're afraid of having hard conversations, say to your partner or friend, hey, I have to talk to you. If you're afraid of an intense workout, sign up for that CrossFit class. Not because you're reckless, not because you're trying to prove something, but because when you do the thing that you are deathly afraid of, you're going to see it for what it truly is. And most of the time, it's not going to be as bad as you thought. So your challenge is to find out what is your jaws. What's that one thing that you've been avoiding the most because of fear? And to see what happens when you turn around and face it. Let me know what happens in the comments. And if you find this perspective helpful, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any more episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Just FYI, we post a new video almost every day, so make sure you comment and subscribe below so you don't miss out on anything. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you're really going to love this one as well. And if you ever want to see a playlist of all of my podcasts or all of the plot twists or any other category of videos, you can find links to those in the description below.